Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today, as you've already seen in the title of the video, we're going to be having a little bit of fun and we're going to be predicting 5 things that could potentially happen at Celtic Football Club between now and the end of the year in 2025. Now, I know what you're thinking, that's impossible. You're no a psychic. I'm no handing out, scamping, all the rest of it in a tent in Blackpool trying to guess people's futures. I'm not mystic, right? But it's just a little bit of fun. Obviously half of these things, or maybe all of these things, don't have that much chance of happening, but I've tried to keep it realistic as possible, and it's 5 potential things that could happen at Celtic over the course of the next 5 years. Now, obviously there's a big few years ahead of us in terms of domestic success. We have been making great strides in European football as well, and the game has evolved massively over the past 10 years in terms of finance and such, so there's a lot of things that could potentially happen at Celtic. I mean, sometimes people have the conversation of us moving down into the English Premier League, which I hope would never happen, but there's a lot of things that could happen out of nowhere. You never know what's going to happen in the world of football. You never know what's going to happen with Celtic. In 2010, if you were to guess what would happen by the end of 2020, you would never have guessed that Rangers would have been liquidated, Celtic would be winning 8, nearly 9 in a row, winning invincible trebles, beating Barcelona. There was no way you could have predicted that in 2010. So what I'm predicting now might seem realistic or might seem unrealistic, but we're just going to have to wait it out and see. The reason I'm only doing it over the course of 5 years is because 10 years there's just so much that could change and happen. So try and keep it a little bit shorter. 5 things in 5 years. Here we go. Try and have a little bit of fun. Please don't slaughter me in. The thumbnail, you'll notice James McLean, the Celtic top. That's not one of the predictions. I just wanted the thumbnail to look a bit catchy. Okay, the first thing isn't that exciting. It's a little bit, it's what we've been chatting about for the last 8 years. Let's just get it over and done with. 10 in a row. Celtic will win 10 in a row. They'll win it. That is my first prediction of the video. I do believe that obviously there's a lot to speak about here. Rangers have, got to the point where they are improving. They're catching up on Celtic a little bit. But I still think right now, as proven when we've came back from the winter break, that Celtic are still the better team. The team who are the better off in going and beating the smaller teams, not dropping silly points. Yes, Rangers have shown in the 2 Old Firm games over the past, a couple of attempts that they are able to compete with Celtic. They're just as good all over the park in certain scenarios, but I still think Celtic are far the better team on paper, and they've got, every reason to go on and win 10 in a row. I don't think there's that much stopping us. Obviously next year we'll have a much better indication if we get the 9 done. We need to get that done first, but as I've said throughout the year on the channel, no matter what happens, I'm fairly confident we'll go and win 9 in a row, and I'm still fairly confident we'll go and do the 10. Now I know the Rangers fans who are watching this video will be laughing because they are certain they can stop 10, some of them certainly can stop 9, but the way things are going right now, our team is playing incredible football. We've got some fantastic players, the money is there to be spent if Peter Law wants to get out his pocket. That is a prediction itself. Will the hand come out the pocket? But there is no reason why we can't go on next year, spud some cash, and make sure we get 10 done. After that, it's a matter of what comes next. What is the next step for Celtic? We've basically completed the game, but I do believe that before 2025, I mean it would be in 2021 anyway, that Celtic will secure 10 in a row, and if they don't, I'll be saddened quite a bit, considering it's all it's been on our minds for the past 9 years. So Celtic will win 10 in a row. The second prediction is Odsonne Edouard will leave Celtic for a fee of around £40 million. I was going to say at least £40 million, but I wouldn't be surprised if the fee's like, 36, 37 million. I think that Celtic have to hold their ground in this one. They need to stand up and say to people, no, we want proper money for this player because he's incredible. Odsonne Edouard they're speaking about as one of the best players at Celtic since Henrik Larsson. Sorry, let me rephrase. The best player at Celtic from Henrik Larsson. Look, Odsonne Edouard has been absolutely remarkable. He has done everything we could have asked for a fee of £9 million. That is what we already paid for him. We should be making more than double our money on the profit. If we were only to get £20 million from him, I think it would be absolutely ludicrous. We let Moussa Dembele go for £20 million, fair enough. He kind of tinkered with injury issues in that second season. He didn't maybe get as much football as what could have brought him up to a £30-40 million player. But Edouard is at the point now where he could perhaps be eclipsing Moussa Dembele and eclipsing every other player who's played for Celtic in a long, long time. They got £25 million for Kieran Tierney, for God's sake, and he's been, riddled with injuries. Edouard has proven at the highest levels in Europe and domestically that he can be a game changer. His skills, his attributes are beyond, a lot of teams' imagination. He would sort anybody out in the English Premier League. He'd sort anybody out over in Germany, over in France, over in Italy. He would just fit in and gel anywhere. He's that much of a good footballer. When you look at him at the ball with the ball at his feet, he's remarkable. It's something special to watch. He truly is a unique player. And if Celtic want to make money on him, they need to, stand up this time. Don't take £25 million. Don't take 30 million. £40 million is what we should be aiming for a player of his quality, who's scoring goals winning week in, week out. Hopefully he does stay for the first prediction. Hopefully we see him here till 10 in a row. But the day he does leave Celtic, if he keeps banging them in, if he keeps playing to the standard that he's playing at right now, that red hot form, I think Celtic could be getting at least £40 million for a player of his calibre. The next prediction, a little bit of a bold one, but we've got 5 years to accomplish this, and right now it looks like a standard of football that potentially we can. Now, I was stuck between two. I was stuck between saying Celtic will reach a Europa League semi-final, but I'm going to say Celtic will get back to reaching the knockout stages of Champions League football, the last 16. I'm not saying any further past that. Neil Lennon has done it in the past, and the way we have played in Europe this season, the way we have shown how good a team we are at the minute, I think we can do it again over the next 5 years. We just need to ensure that the players that do leave this club, we match with the players we bring in. We need to aim high. We need to bring in the highest standard of player that our budget allows us to. Our budget should be far greater than what we get demonstrated to us with the signings we make. Yes, a lot of the time we find unknown gems for smaller fees, and then we end up selling them off for crazy profit. But if we want to try and challenge to be that standard of Champions League sides again, we need to go and spend some money on some at least reputable players who can help us get there, players with experience in doing it. Look, the Champions League has been mental over the past, the last time we got there was 2013, which is now 7 years ago. Football has changed drastically since then, and maybe it is an unrealistic cry for me to say we will finally reach the last 16 again. The money has changed everything. Celtic have been left behind in an evolving game which has, made the rich just benefit beyond anybody else. But there still has been the odd story of teams making it to the last 16 that Celtic certainly could compete with. You look at teams over Europe and countries like Belgium and Holland and stuff like that. Celtic, if they keep buying players, the standard of odds on Edouard, and developing players to that, along with bringing in some reputable players as well when Law wants to spend the money, they can definitely put together and assemble a team that under Neil Lennon or whoever may be in charge of Celtic can take us to the last 16 of the Champions League again. Ajax got to the semi-finals last year, and their team, obviously, remarkable. But look how they made that team. Look how that team was bonded and gelled together. It was a mix of academy graduates and unknown players, rejects from elsewhere, but they still had the quality and the potential to do something. Now, Celtic just need to be a bit smarter with their signings, develop young players as well, in a country that hopefully will be getting better at developing young players over the next 5 years, being Scotland, and maybe we could be back to the level of getting through to the last 16 of the Champions League. It depends on luck, it depends on the draw. You don't know who you're going to get in the group stage of the Champions League, but the way that Scottish football looks to be developing on a European stage with Celtic and Rangers getting to the last 32 of the Europa League, I don't think we're too far away, maybe towards the end of the 5 years, of Celtic getting back to the last 16 of the Champions League. It would be saddening to think that we can't make it there. I mean, we've only done it a couple of times over the history of the Champions League, but let's hope we can do it again. My fourth prediction is one of the boldest ones. I've had a feeling for years, the last 2-3 years now, that this is always going to happen. My fourth prediction is that Scott Brown will manage Celtic Football Club. Now, I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know in which manner he becomes manager of the club. If, someone gets sacked, he comes in on an interim basis, whether Neil Lennon steps down after 10 in a row if we win it, and then Scott Brown kind of just glides into the role after retiring from playing. I don't know how it's going to happen. It's a very weird one because we don't know what's going to happen with Lennon, how long he'll be at the club, if he'll stay after 10, whatever will happen. It's very hard to look at, but I do think by 2025, Scott Brown will manage Celtic. Look, if we win 10 in a row, as I said, we've completed the game. We obviously want to continue on after that and keep dominating Scottish football, keep winning league titles, keep winning trophies. But I think we're at the point as well where when Neil Lennon does leave Celtic, at whatever point that may be, whether it was then and there or a few years after, we do have that opportunity maybe, kind of experiment a wee bit. And Scott Brown, who's obviously already said in the past his intentions after football is to go into coaching, he'd love to stay at Celtic. I think at one point, it might not be the next 5 years, but one point in his career certainly could be the next Celtic manager. But I do kind of have this feeling in the back of my head that it's going to be Lennon leaving not too long after 10 in a row. God knows what will happen. Maybe his contract runs out or whatever. And then Scott Brown will grace himself into the job and take over in the next part of his Celtic career. It's a hard one to maybe visualise for some of you, and a lot of people might be saying no chance. A lot of people have echoed this thought as well before online, and people think it could happen. I just have a feeling that one day, within the next 5-6 years, we could see Scott Brown on the touchline, taking over and just further inheriting himself as a legend to Celtic Football Club. The next and final prediction for Celtic before the year of 2025 is probably, in my opinion, the unrealistic of the five, but one that potentially could happen, and signs have shown over the past few years that there could be intentions for it to happen, and it's why I'm throwing it in. I don't think it will, and personally I don't want it to happen, but I do think Celtic Park will be expanded somehow and the capacity of the stadium will go up. Now, I think, as I said, it's the most unrealistic thing to happen, but if you look at the way Celtic and the board of Celtic have tried to direct the club over the last few years, especially since the appointment of Brendan Rodgers when he was manager of the club, Celtic have been trying so hard to take the club in a direction that is joining them with the elites of Europe. You see the kind of the development of the outside area of Celtic Park, obviously with the Celtic Way being introduced. They're talking about bringing in this hotel complex with the new club shop and museum. They want to build a new training centre over in Barrowfield. There's a lot of ideas that Celtic have put to the task and I've got in the planning as well, that have tried to expand Celtic as a club to bring them to the kind of Premier League upper tier type clubs. We've also got the disco lights, as they usually get called. A lot of things have been done to try and take us to that next level, and I think with the demand in season tickets, if it keeps going, and whether it flounders or not is a different story, because I know some people have dropped off the home cup ticket scheme. If we continue to see that in the big games, I don't think the board would be too, worried about the fact that maybe an expansion could do the world of good to Celtic. Now, the reason I don't want it to happen is because we don't really sell every single seat on a, midweek game, a Wednesday night, Wednesday night, Tuesday night, whatever. We don't really tend to sell the whole stadium out, and I couldn't imagine a full empty top tier above the main stand or any extra empty seats in the stadium. I wouldn't like the thought of that, and that's why I think we've got a decent sized stadium. I think it should just stay the way it is, but there has been talks of it potentially happening in the past. There has been thoughts put forward from fans and other people in the media and such that it could be a potential thing for Celtic to do, but I do, for my prediction, I do think there is a possibility that Celtic Park's capacity could increase, taking the club yet another level up. And I think Celtic Park will become a 5-star stadium altogether. I think it's 4-star in the eyes of UEFA just now, but I think it will get to that point where it's 5-star. And I think they will at least consider maybe upping the capacity to maybe meet the demands of the season ticket waiting list. That does it then. That's the end of the video. 5 predictions you might feel are absolutely ridiculous, but I'm at least going to throw them out there. It's just a bit of fun, lads. Don't take it too seriously. But that's the 5 predictions I have for Celtic over the next 5 years. There was other little ones that I could put in, like, breaking our transfer record and stuff like that just wouldn't have been that exciting. So I've tried to spice it up a wee bit as well. Keep that in mind. It's YouTube, for God's sake. I need to get views. But if you have enjoyed, you know what to do. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. Let me know your opinions to the predictions, whether you think they're possible or not. Leave them in the comments below. But if you have enjoyed the video, as I said, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.